This is insane. I want to give you guys an idea of how many pictures and documents were released with the Epstein files last night. All of these are from the Epstein files. They go on for ages. Look at that bar as it goes down. Thousands and thousands of images to go through. You could even search by people. So you could click Jeffrey Epstein, Chris Tucker, Bill Clinton.
You already know what it is. It's your boy Laid Back with another reaction, another review, another episode. Hey, TikTok, you up to bat. Bah! It's your boy Laid Back. Welcome back to my channel. Hey, two things we got to do. You got to hit that subscribe button. I'm drinking this water. You already know what it is, man. You are the prize in 2025. You are the prize in 2025. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the notification bell. Stay up to date with all the videos. Like I said, this is at the end of the year. 2026 slogans. What we talking about in the comments, man? What are we talking about in the comments, man? I want to see what you guys think. And I've been reading some of the comments, man. But we back with another one. This is some more Epstein stuff. You know, it just keep coming out. Pause. You know what I'm saying? More stuff keeps coming out and more stuff gonna keep coming out. So you make it to the end of this one, you a real one for real. Make sure you share this with the last person you text in your phone and hit that like button. Let's go ahead and get into it. Fire Squad, what's popping? Let's get it. Before we get back into the video, I want to tell you guys a quick and easy way that you can make money just by playing games on your phone. Free Cash is a program that helps games and apps to find new users. So how it works is the companies get paid just from you playing the games. But where Free Cash comes in is they take some of that money and they reroute it to you. Now, this is not a get rich quick scheme. You actually have to play the games to actually get the money. So you can either hit the link in my description or you can use the QR code on the screen. Super easy to sign up. All you need is an email and a password. If you use the link, they'll give you $5 immediately to your account, credited to your account by using the link. And it's super easy to withdraw. You can either withdraw through Bitcoin, PayPal, or bank transfer. Super easy. Most people is making like $10 to $20 a day. But if you got some time, you can really lock in. You can see that this game right here is paying $1,020 just to complete it. So it's games out there where you can make some money for real. But you got to lock in and put the time in though. So if you already use your phone to play games and stuff like that, let that phone actually make some money for you too. So make sure you hit that link in the description, hit the QR code, make some easy money, man. Shout out to the squad. Peace.
Here is a scrapbook. I repeat what I've said a number of times now. We don't have the context. This is a scrapbook that appears to have been put together for Jeffrey Epstein. It is reminiscent of the birthday book that you'll remember was released a few months ago. The birthday book that Ghislaine Maxwell put together for Jeffrey Epstein, which itself had a drawing that was said to be done by one Donald Trump. He denies that that drawing was him. It certainly had photographs and a birthday messages from one Peter Mandelson, which precipitated the career downfall of the former British ambassador. And again, many redactions in it, faces redacted, as you can see here. It's kind of creepy, I have to say, looking at it, because it's clear that in most of the images, he is photographed with women, females, women or girls. This is Epstein with a face mask on.
What the hell is going on here?
The Department of Justice has started releasing the Epstein files. There are hundreds of images, including blacked out pictures of naked women and CDs and cassettes recovered from raids on his homes, and photos of several high-profile figures, such as the former U.S. President Bill Clinton, seen here with Epstein's co-conspirator Ghislaine Maxwell in a pool. The former president has never been accused of wrongdoing and has denied knowing of Epstein's crimes. And in other photos, he's captured with celebrities such as Michael Jackson, Diana Ross, and Mick Jagger, though being named or pictured in the files is not an indication of wrongdoing. Comparatively, the DOJ hasn't released much with President Trump in it. He socialized with Epstein in the 90s and early 2000s, but so far there's only one photo in this batch, which shows a few photos of Donald Trump, which were stored in a desk drawer. And this photo appears to show the former Prince Andrew laying across 5 women whose faces are also redacted. Behind him is Ghislaine Maxwell. Wow. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor has denied allegations that he sexually abused one of Epstein's victims, Virginia Giuffre. There are also thousands of files connected to past investigations of Epstein, including phone messages from someone saying they had a female for him. But much of the content has been redacted. Victims are not happy that all of the files haven't been released by today's deadline. And so far, the answers they are desperately searching for don't appear to be in this batch.
Wow. Do your own research. This is crazy.
So we received more pictures and information in regards to the Epstein files, but as I'm reviewing them, I'm starting to realize that we may know a lot less than we think we do about this whole situation. Upon learning that we were going to get more information on Epstein's case, we were under the impression that only the victims' names and faces would be redacted. But as you can see, over 100 pages are redacted, completely blanked out, and I doubt all of these are victims. When this initially released, I and many others believed that this was just to protect celebrities and political figures who were involved. And then I thought, why would they be okay with releasing pictures of high political leaders like Bill Clinton and celebrities like Michael Jackson, clearly connecting them to the Jeffrey Epstein case? Well, what if they aren't simply trying to protect the celebrities and political leaders involved, but instead trying to protect something else, something deeper and darker than what we think is going on? If you look at the declassified images, you'll notice that Jeffrey Epstein's house has a lot of symbolism in its decor, like checkerboard floors, abstract art, and even pictures of the victims themselves. Maybe this is connected to something else.
Connected to what? What else?
There's a lot of fake content being thrown into the Epstein files to try and distract you from the truth of what's going on, but the letter from Jeffrey Epstein to Larry Nassar, that one's real. The letter was sent sometime in late July or early August before Jeffrey Epstein allegedly killed himself. And the existence of this letter has been reported since 2019, when the Associated Press got a trove of 4,000 documents, either from within Jeffrey Epstein's cell or related to the investigation into the death of Jeffrey Epstein. However, the actual postcard itself was not included in the documents that were turned over to the Associated Press. That is probably because the FBI sent this postcard out for a handwriting analysis to ensure that it was in fact Jeffrey Epstein that sent it to Larry Nassar. Now, if you've never been to jail, you might not know that inmates are not allowed to send mail to other inmates without approval. So the fact that Jeffrey Epstein, a criminally convicted was allowed to send a postcard to another criminally convicted Larry Nassar is sort of unusual. And all of the mail that you send in prison is read. So several people would have read this, and they still allowed him to send it.
What?
Dear LN, as you know by now, I have taken the short route home, indicating that he took his own life. Good luck. We shared one thing, our love and caring for young ladies, disgusting, and the hope that they'd reach their full potential, vile.
What?
Our president also shares our love of young, nubile girls. Okay.
What?
When young beauties walked by, he loved to grab snatch, whereas we ended up snatching grub in the mess halls of the system. Life is unfair. I'm sorry, that is just so hard to read out loud. This postcard is incredibly damning. It not only is so salacious in the fact that Jeffrey Epstein is writing
They let him send that to
this other very high profile who's in prison, but it specifically mentions the president, who at the time was Donald Trump. Also curious here is Jeffrey Epstein had access to a cell phone and was in constant communication with the outside world. He wouldn't have not known that Larry Nassar was actually being held in a Michigan prison. Yet he sent the letter to the prison that Nassar had been held at only for a couple of months in the summer of 2018. Did Jeffrey Epstein write an incriminating letter and intentionally send it to the wrong address, knowing that it would be returned to sender and end up back in his files? And him sending it to Larry Nassar in particular, as opposed to anybody else, would have really stuck out to the press and to the public. A couple questions remain here. What was the result of the FBI handwriting analysis of the letter? Why did Jeffrey Epstein send it to an Arizona prison? Why wasn't it included in the documents that were given to the Associated Press when they were investigating the death of Jeffrey Epstein? And Larry Nassar is still alive. He is serving his sentence at the Coleman, Florida high-security federal facility. Also, why is Nassar being held in Florida when he committed his crimes in Texas and Michigan, both of which have federal prisons?
What? It's a lot of stuff going on with this shit.
What do you guys see wrong with this photo? This is one of the newest photos released related to Jeffrey Epstein, right? I'm gonna give you 1 second and then I'm gonna zoom in on it so I can show the obvious connection that everybody should be talking about right now. Here's a closer look as if it wasn't already obvious enough. And see, this specific picture could mean one of two things. Either somebody was a Mossad agent or it belongs to somebody else. As you can see, in mid-October, the House Oversight Committee released an interview with former U.S. prosecutor Alex Acosta, who told the panel that contrary to widespread public reporting, he had never told Steve Bannon that Epstein belonged to intelligence. Yet, along with Acosta's interview, the House panel also released a new cache of documents from Epstein's estate containing direct evidence of Epstein's links to what? Epstein's personal calendars reveal that a senior Israeli intelligence officer with personal ties to former CIA Director Leon Panetta lived at Epstein's Manhattan apartment for multiple stretches between 2013 and 2016. In cross-reference with emails leaked from the inbox of former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak, portrait of course emerges of Epstein at the nexus of high-ranking intelligence officials in both the US and Israel. But here's where things get interesting. That Israeli intelligence officer's name was Yoni Koren. After Barak's retirement from government, Koren continued to serve as an informal intermediary between the American and Israeli intelligence communities, with Barak acting as his handler. Email records show Barak using Koren as an intermediary to exchange information with Ayman, the Israeli Military Intelligence Directorate. Koren was also active in Epstein and Barak's efforts to source cybersecurity startups from the technology research units of Ayman. And in February of 2015, leaked emails show Barak sending Epstein bank details for funds to be wired to Koren's Citibank account. The purpose of the wire transfer is not known though. DropSite was unable to confirm if the funds were successfully transferred. But the bank transfer information was followed by an unusually cryptic communication between Barak and Koren regarding handoff of a physical bank card. Definitely not money laundering or anything, but this is the most important part because Koren helped arrange a private tour of the White House and Pentagon for Barak and his grandchildren, which took place a few days later. The Pentagon trip was coordinated by Jeremy Bash, former chief of staff of the Central Intelligence Agency and Department of Defense, as well as the ex-husband of CNN host Dana Bash. Koren and Bash helped to exchange messages and arrange meetings between the respective bosses Barak and Leon Panetta, the former CIA director and secretary of defense. So the only question I have left is who the fuck owned that sweatshirt? There's really no denying anything at this point, but sure, let's primarily focus on the picture with Michael Jackson, right?
Why is this picture in the Epstein files? Michael Jackson was innocent. This is actually some dirty work. So the internet found the original picture. It's actually on Getty Images, the website itself, and just read this description. Michael Jackson, his children, Michael Joseph Jackson Jr. and Paris Michael Catherine Jackson, are photographed with President Bill Clinton, Diana Ross, and her son Evan Ross in Washington, D.C. on December 19th, 2003. It was his own damn kid, so why are they making it seem like he was part of the Epstein files and they had to redact these children who were maybe allegedly victims? And shout out to Jessica at J Bunzy. She posted the same thing, and Michael Jackson's ex-alleged security guard commented on it and said, "I was his bodyguard when the picture with Epstein would have been taken. We were just viewing houses as Michael wanted to live on Palm Beach so he can be close with his friend Barry Gibb. A real estate agent set up the viewings over the course of the week. We never even knew who Epstein was. He wasn't even famous then. He, like the other house owners we viewed that week, wanted a picture with Michael. I was there with another bodyguard and Michael's then doctor. That's it in 2003. And that date matches with the Getty Images description. Epstein's house was for sale, so it was one of many lined up to view. Michael never had a clue who he was or the property owners we met. Michael would have always been polite to everyone he meets. It was making big news at the time. We looked at the houses on Palm Beach, so I'm surprised the truth isn't being told. Michael was recording daily with Barry Gibb back then. This was in 2003. Thanks for fighting for the truth." So breaking news, context matters, and I know a lot of people didn't trust this because the majority is redacted, but now here's another reason to question everything.
Wow, that's foul.
Along with the massive dump of emails, Epstein's Kindle purchases get released, his digital Kindle purchases. I will say it's very interesting. In the beginning, he's reading books like Conversations with a Mathematician, Exploring Randomness, even the Jesus Dynasty, A Hidden History of Jesus, his royal family, and the birth of Christianity. And then he starts picking up books about family wealth management, the story of a practical idealist, managing money books, Why We Get Sick, the Celebrity Assistant's Handbook, which details how to deal with the ultra wealthy, Bitcoin for Dummies, blockchain technology explained. He also purchases at least 4 separate books, digital books on Donald Trump, another book about gay Catholic priests, Another one titled The Serious Guide to Joke Writing, which is not about gay Catholic priests. However, it does appear that his interests start changing a little bit in 2014 with the books The Man from ORGY. It's a man who studies intimate relations, and he studies it and he loves it, and it makes studying intimate relations even easier. However, the blurb continues. He does odd jobs here and there for, quote, the most secret of American spy organizations. This unnamed agency, which is definitely not the CIA, might send him to various action spots in the world, but it's his lust that makes the spots get active.
What?
He just starts reading a bunch of spy books, along with purchases like The Complete Guide of Men Pilates, The Physics of Immortality, which is about how humans can be resurrected, which Virginia Giuffre states in her memoir, quote, I'll tell you one thing though, while I've read that Epstein was buried in an unmarked grave not far from his parents in Palm Beach, Florida, I don't believe that at all. Epstein had repeatedly told me exactly what would happen when he died. His body would be placed in some sort of cryogenic chamber to be preserved until technology advanced far enough back to bring him back to life. That's what he always bragged to me, with that satisfied smirk on his face. I know it sounds far-fetched, but I wouldn't bet against the notion that he somehow got his way on this.
Wow.
One of his last book purchases in the last 3 months of his life is Lolita, the annotated and revised version about a man who is obsessed with a 12-year-old girl. However, the most interesting purchase that everybody has been dissecting thus far online is, quote, the title, Rise and Kill First, The Secret History of Israel's Targeted Assassinations. People think it's interesting because there is a speculation that he is an intelligence officer, a spy for Israel, and then he ends up dying in prison later.
Bro, that's a lot of wild stuff going on.
A huge batch of never-seen-before Epstein files were released last night, which include the likes of Michael Jackson, Chris Tucker, Bill Clinton, again, Mick Jagger, and many more. But here's the 3 main key takeaways. Firstly, the pictures. Bill Clinton definitely got the worst of this one, with shots of him everywhere, including looking far too comfortable in a hot tub and a swimming pool. We got not Prince Andrew lying across the laps of several redacted women, Chris Tucker, which, let's be honest, no one wanted to see him here, Michael Jackson with Bill Clinton and Diana Ross. But yet again, from the pictures, nothing groundbreaking, it's not showing anything illegal, and there are huge redactions. The second key takeaway is that this release actually failed to follow the law requiring the release of all the files. In fact, for example, every single one of the 119 grand jury testimony pages were redacted. We're talking entire pages here. However, in saying that, the Department of Justice have said that they will release more documents in the coming weeks. And the third and potentially biggest key takeaway from this is that we got confirmation last night that the FBI was warned about Epstein as far back as 1996. You see, one of the victims, Maria Farmer, submitted a complaint to law enforcement that Epstein stole pictures of her underage sisters and then sold them to potential buyers. In fact, one part of her handwritten complaint says that Epstein at one time requested, redacted name, to take pictures of young girls at swimming pools. Quote, Epstein is now threatening, redacted name, that if she tells anyone about the photos, he will burn her house down. So the FBI was tipped off about Epstein 23 years before he was finally brought to justice. And even saying justice is generous because he died before he was ever tried in court. But there is still a lot more to comb through and still to come, so we'll keep you guys updated as we know more.
This shit is wild.
At least 16 Jeffrey Epstein files have disappeared from the US Justice Department's website, including this photograph, which features US President Donald Trump. These files were available on Friday US time, but by Saturday they were no longer accessible, with no explanation or notice from the US government. The Democrats posted this to X, asking the US Attorney General Pam Bondi, "Is this true? What else is being covered up? We need transparency for the American public." This comes after thousands of Epstein files were released by the US Justice Department. They included photographs, documents, and handwritten notes, many of which were undated and provided without context and heavily redacted. And these files pretty much tell us nothing new at all. One of the redacted files is called Grand Jury New York and was 119 pages, pretty much all blacked out.
Crazy.
Anything that could have identified potential victims was also redacted. And then there were the photos of the celebrities, including billionaire Richard Branson, Michael Jackson, actor Kevin Spacey, and the former Prince Andrew. Bill Clinton also features prominently in multiple videos, including this one with him and Epstein's co-conspirator Ghislaine Maxwell and an unknown woman. But Bill Clinton has been linked to Jeffrey Epstein before and has since disowned the friendship. It's important to note that being named or appearing in these files does not imply wrongdoing or criminal activity. But these documents are only a fraction of what the US Justice Department has. What's missing from these files are any FBI interviews with survivors or any internal memos about how they came to their charging decisions. Basically, any information that could help explain how Jeffrey Epstein was able to plead guilty to a minor state prostitution charge in 2008. The White House says it's the most transparent administration in history, but survivors say they're disappointed.
It just feels like a prolonged ache that doesn't need to be dragged out. I just want answers, and I think that a lot of survivors feel that way.
This is unreal stuff.
By law, when releasing the files, you need to release A, all of the files, and then B, if you do release the files and anything is redacted, it needs to be explained. And what we got is not the full release and tons of redactions with no explanation. In fact, there's so many redactions, just the explanation for the redactions would be longer than the Epstein files themselves.
Wow.
So the two biggest points of legal contention, because they were forced by law to release them, are not even being followed.
Wow.
So not only is it the covering of PDF files within the government, but is also the justice system being undermined on multiple levels, not following the laws that they were forced to release the files for, also not bringing to justice PDF files within our entire governmental system and all the other systems they have infected. And this does way more harm to the justice system and our government as a whole, because how on earth are we supposed to trust that there is any justice at all that's going to be served to anybody if the most heinous possible crimes at the highest level are actively covered for and not brought to any sort of justice by our leadership?
This is...
Something about this watch drawer is absolutely driving me crazy. And this could be a little out there. Consider this a theory, okay? So this is one of the photos that was in the documents released by the DOJ. In this photo, you can see that this is a bedroom. This is a bedside table. And in the bedside table, there are a bunch of watches. And I'm not a big watch person, so maybe this is a normal way to store your watches. But to me, this looks like, I don't know, like an electronic junk drawer. As you can see, there's like an Apple Watch, there's some normal watches, and in that same area, we're also finding different audio recorders. Here's another example. In that same area, we have another audio recorder. And while this could be completely normal and nothing at all, I personally think it's very interesting how many of Jeffrey's girls, specifically girls within the core 4 plus Karina Shuliak, but even some of the victims who are censored, we can see they have big chunky watches on their arms. Example 1, example 2, example 3, example 4. In this photo, Jeffrey's literally putting a watch on a victim or a member of the core 4. Here's another example. Here is another example. Here's another example. And here's another example. And like this watch on Karina Shuliak's arm, and Karina Shuliak was the last ex-girlfriend of Jeffrey, looks really similar to the watch that's in the middle here. And again, it could be nothing. This could be a normal thing. Maybe these are all watch people. I have no idea. But I personally would not put it past Jeffrey to always have the girls, his trusted, loyal girls, wired with some kind of an inconspicuous audio recording device so that Jeffrey is able to hear what his friends are saying to these girls behind closed doors, or collect audio recordings as a tool of blackmail. Or perhaps these were some kind of like a GPS device so that Jeffrey could keep track of where the girls were. And I could be totally off base, but I personally wouldn't put it past the man who was going back and forth with Sultan Ahmad bin Sulayem about manufacturing a product that put a GPS tracker into the shoes of children, and the guy who always had his planes and properties wired with audio and video recording. I simply would not put it past him to put an audio recording device in something inconspicuous like a watch. It's too easy. Maybe that's why the FBI collected such a high volume of audio recording devices. I don't know. Again, could be totally wrong. These just might be watch people. I don't know. It's just a pattern that I'm picking up on, and I just had to share it with you guys because it's nagging at me. But anyways, I think we're getting another drop of photos from the DOJ this afternoon, so I will keep you guys posted and let you know when those come out, and we will just continue to dissect these as quickly and as thoroughly as possible.
Now, Chris Tucker should have just stayed quiet about the situation. Y'all, he came out and addressed this picture of him being in the Epstein files.
Okay.
Now, obviously, y'all could clearly see he is with Bill Clinton in this picture. And he is also with Ghislaine Maxwell in this picture at the airport. I mean, man, when he was being asked about it, he sounded shaky. He sounded real guilty, I'm not gonna lie. He was nervously laughing, all that stuff when he was talking about it. Mind y'all, when he was with Ghislaine Maxwell right here in this airport, that's a private plane. It's been said it's a private plane. So when he was asked, did he go to Epstein's place, Epstein's island? He was nervously laughing. He was like, no. Listen, I don't believe that. It don't seem too authentic. They might be on to you, Chris Tucker.
Oh, shit.
I ain't gonna lie. A lot of people are not believing in him. That's crazy.
This is the wildest stuff.
There have been images released in the past 48 hours. Some of them include former President Bill Clinton. There's at least one image of Donald Trump. I should say neither man has been accused of any wrongdoing related to Epstein, though they clearly knew him. But since Friday's publication, we're showing the image here now. One of the pictures was pulled down. There were 15 images total that were then redacted from the DOJ website. And it's kind of hard to see, but it's an open drawer with a photo of President Trump. Why do you think that was pulled down? Because the Deputy Attorney General says this was victims saying that their privacy or somehow their integrity was being compromised by having that image published.
Well, I'm less concerned about that photo. I don't know the facts. My concern is the major documents that we know are out there that haven't been released. The 60-count indictment that shows massive financial fraud and foreign interference, the prosecution memo. And look, they put out these Bill Clinton pictures. But, well, they're allegations that they're foreign governments that potentially were involved. And that all needs to come out. And it needs to come out in the indictments. It needs to come out in the prosecution memos. But the reality is they put out these pictures for Bill Clinton. Fine, put it all out. But don't distract from the fundamental issue, which is who are these powerful people who visited the Rape Island? I mean, there are 1,200 victims. It defies common sense that it was just Epstein and Maxwell, and they're hiding something. And you know why the American people are so upset? My X account had MAGA supporters supporting me for the first time, saying, you know, Pam Bondi whiffed, according to Susan Wiles. She is breaking the law. She needs to be held accountable.
You're referring to the Vanity Fair quote that the chief of staff gave saying the whiffed, and she said that Pam Bondi gave them binders full of nothingness, and then when it came to the client list, she said it was on her desk. There is no client list, quote, and it sure as hell wasn't on her desk.
Man, the government is real caught up in this one. They say you're supposed to release everything. They release pages of the whole page redacted. They said, I don't care what we supposed to release. You ain't seeing none of this. This is real next level, like, what's going on right here? You know what I'm saying? Like, and who's going to be held accountable? This is wild.
They did not release all the documents, which is against the law. And there needs to be repercussions for this. And yes, they did release tons of documents and evidence, but the law didn't say release some of the stuff.
Right.
It said that everything needed to be released, and that did not happen. And so we're hearing from people like Democratic Congressman Ro Khanna, who says the Justice Department's document dumps violate the Epstein Transparency Act that he co-wrote. Because remember, everything was supposed to be released, and some of the stuff that was released was so redacted or just blank pages that it was like, why did you even release this? A great example of that is one of the New York grand jury documents. It was completely blacked out. 119 pages. Ro Khanna even goes further by saying, we've not seen the draft indictment that implicates other rich and powerful men who are in Epstein's rape island and who either watched the abuse of young girls or participated in the abuse of young girls. Adding, it is an incomplete release with too many redactions. And Thomas Massie, who also co-wrote this, and I are exploring all options. Options as in going after these people for not releasing these things. That could be everything from contempt of Congress, or at the very end of it, an impeachment of their own positions inside the Department of Justice.
Snap.
And Thomas Massie, by the way, also made his own comment saying that the release fails both the spirit and the letter that the law President Trump signed 30 days ago. With Massie even warning Pam Bondi herself, saying that she could face future obstruction of justice charges if officials were improperly redacted. The law itself was pretty explanatory. People were not supposed to be blacked out. We wanted this release so we know who the people are, who the bad people are.
Right.
Everyone on both sides of the aisle want to know who the bad people are, so those people are punished. But I need to add that the Justice Department is denying that they redacted any politician name. Bottom line is, though, there's a lot in here, and a lot of it is blank on purpose. What are they hiding? The fight for this is not over, folks. Both sides are going to be fighting to make sure that everything gets released. And once they fully do, we can break down things even further. I'll be sure to keep you updated, though. So please do share my videos and follow me for more.
Do y'all think them files coming out?
All right, so breaking fuck the news. Good morning. Hey, everybody. You saw me on live a second ago. Was already going through this article about Mr. Epstein. The DOJ last night dropped 30,000 pages of Epstein documents. In this, there's multiple indications of Donald Trump in it, but here's the caveat. One thing that Donald Trump had said is, or the DOJ warned, that the latest tranche includes untrue, sensationalist claims against President Donald Trump, but did not specify what they were. So basically, what the DOJ stated when they dropped these is there's going to be claims about Donald in these, but I guess. But here's an email that was taken from the files. And the subject line, it says Epstein's flight records. It says the date was Wednesday, January 8th of 2020, and this email was sent at 1:29 p.m. Looks like Eastern Standard Time. All right, so for situational awareness, wanted to let you know that the flight records we received yesterday reflect that Donald Trump traveled on Epstein's private jet many more times than previously has been reported, or that we were aware, including during the period we would expect to charge in a Maxwell case. In particular, he is listed as a passenger on at least 8 flights between 1993 and 1996, including at least 4 flights on which Maxwell was also present. He is listed as having traveled with, among others, in various times, Marla Maples, the daughter of Tiffany, his daughter Tiffany, and his son Eric. On one flight in 1993, he and Epstein are the only 2 listed passengers. On another, the only 3 passengers are Epstein and Trump, and a 20-year-old redacted name. On 2 other flights, 2 of the passengers, respectively, were women who would be possible witnesses in the Maxwell case. We've just finished reviewing in full records. More than 100 pages are very small script, and didn't want any of this to be a surprise down the road. This email was sent by the Assistant U.S. Attorneys of the Southern District of New York, and the subject matter line says Epstein flight records. They don't have the name of the person who sent this. Maxwell received emails from an A. Balmoral summer camp. In August 2001, a person identified only as A, the Invisible Man, can be seen writing to Maxwell saying, "I am here at Balmoral summer camp for the royal family. I'm here at Balmoral summer camp for the royal family. Activities take place all day and I'm totally exhausted at the end of each day. The girls are completely shattered and I will have to give them an early night today."
What?
How's LA? Have you found some new inappropriate friends? Let me know when you're coming over, as I am free on the 25th of August until September 2nd. And my nose firmly and want to go somewhere. This shit is fucking... What the fuck? Listen, There are a plethora of documents to run through. Some of them aren't the best.
Right.
Hey, trigger warning if you go through these bitches. I'll keep you updated with more.
Here's another example. Also among the latest batch of documents is an email stating that Trump traveled numerous times on Jeffrey Epstein's private jet. The sender's name of the email has been redacted. However, the title is listed as Assistant U.S. Attorney, Southern District of New York. The email reads in part this: for your situational awareness, wanted to let you know that the flight records we received yesterday reflect that Donald Trump traveled on Epstein's private jet many more times than previously has been reported, or in a parenthetical, or that we were aware, including during the period we would expect to charge in a Maxwell case. In particular, he's listed as a passenger on at least 8 flights between 1993 and 1996, including at least 4 flights on which Maxwell was also present. He's listed as having traveled with, among others, and at various times, Marla Maples, his daughter Tiffany, and his son Eric. On one flight in 1993, he and Epstein are the only 2 listed passengers. On another, the only 3 passengers are Epstein, Trump, and then 20-year-old, and that 20-year-old's name has been redacted. The email continues: on 2 other flights, 2 of the passengers, respectively, were women who would be possible witnesses in a Maxwell case.
Wait, two of the passengers on a flight that Trump and Epstein were on?
A flight that Trump and Epstein were on
would be 2 possible witnesses in a Maxwell case?
In a Maxwell criminal case. The context here is this email is from January 2020. So again, Trump Department of Justice, and per this email,
that's before Maxwell was tried.
Correct. That is part of that investigation. So it goes on. We've just finished reviewing the full records, more than 100 pages of very small script, and didn't want any of this to be a surprise down the road.
All right,
so again,
John,
that's the Assistant U.S. Attorney saying we don't want to be caught off guard by this.
Epstein's 7-story Manhattan townhome have come out, and this one is by far the creepiest. You can see there's like this woman statue in some sort of wedding dress just hanging from a rope. It just feels so eerie and creepy. Epstein would host events and dinners at this townhome all the time. There were all these letters thanking him or asking him for specific menu items, if you know what I mean. And then there's this area with all of these pictures of people that he's hosted, met, hung out with. You can see him alongside Pope John Paul II, Mick Jagger, Elon Musk, Fidel Castro. The one next to Clinton is right there, Larry Summers. And then, of course, the one with Trump and his wife as well. There's even this signed dollar bill that says I was wrong, and it was from Bill Gates. Another super creepy item is this green first edition of Lolita, which is a 1955 novel in which the character in the story develops this obsession with a 12-year-old girl and repeatedly rapes her. On one of the other floors, the 3rd floor to be exact, is another one of these rooms in the mansion that was infamous for these massages. In most of these rooms,
We have some news right now. Former President Bill Clinton is releasing a statement regarding the Epstein files, saying that he needs no protection. He wants all of the files regarding him released. He wants them released now. His spokesperson, Angel Urena, released a statement saying that the Epstein Files Transparency Act imposes a clear legal duty on the U.S. Department of Justice to produce the full and complete record the public demands and deserves. However, with what the Department of Justice has released so far and the manner in which it did so makes one thing clear: someone or something is being protected. We don't know whom, what, or why, but we do know this: we need no such protection. So they're asking Pam Bondi to release all files mentioning.
Bill Clinton said, hey, release it all. I don't need no protection at all. Release it. Release it. I respect that.
Or referring to or photograph with a photograph of Bill Clinton. That includes grand jury transcripts as well. I've said from the beginning, I don't care who's involved. Bill Clinton, Donald Trump, Republicans, Democrats, anyone associated with Jeffrey Epstein in a criminal aspect should be held accountable. It is interesting to see the former president come out and just say, you know what? Release it all.
Yeah.
We'll see if it happens. Spread the word. Follow along for more.
I respect Bill Clinton for that. For sure. He the only one that said that.
This is insane. I want to give you guys an idea of how many pictures and documents were released with the Epstein files last night. All of these are from the Epstein files. They go on for ages. Look at that bar as it goes down. Thousands and thousands of images to go through. You could even search by people. So you could click Jeffrey Epstein, Chris Tucker, Bill Clinton, etc. And let me tell you, some of these pictures that don't actually involve people, this guy, Jeffrey Epstein, was a weirdo. I do want to say this is credit to Reese Sullivan, because he said that the government website where all of these files were released sucks, so he created this link. If you guys want to go on this link and look at all the pictures yourself, I'm going to put it in the bulletin board because I can't put it anywhere in the video. So go on there, it'll be in there.
Thousands and thousands of pictures.
The fact that we have new photos released, okay, and we see the actual writing of Lolita quotes and Lolita the book on the physical bodies of survivors, of victims of Epstein, like a scrawling with a Sharpie, just dehumanizing.
What?
These freaking haunt me. These are gonna haunt me. Who even took this picture of him writing these Lolita quotes? And for those of you who do not understand the significance of Lolita, I've seen a bunch of people talking about it in a way that shows that they don't know what this book is about. It was written in the 50s by Vladimir Nabokov. It has become a very famous, literary text. For what reason, I do not know. But it is about a French literature professor, it's fiction, who moves to New England, and he becomes obsessed with a 12-year-old girl named Dolores. The entire book is him fantasizing about her. He becomes her stepfather. He then kidnaps her and rapes her. And he talks about her like she is the one who's luring him into this relationship. And so to see these, he was living out Lolita in real life. It's just chilling. It's chilling.
Got him. Somebody tell me if you've got nothing to hide in these Epstein files, then why is 468 right there missing? You're like, I wonder what 468 was. And I'm going to be like, hey, you don't have to worry. I downloaded them all. This is the Google Drive that I created. If you want to get to it, there'll be a link in the comment section. Copy paste in your browser and you can go to it. 467, 468. Wonder what 468 was. Oh, that's 468. Well, I wonder why they would hide this. Oh, yeah, that's the one that has the pictures of Donald Trump that they forgot to black out in the fucking drawer. Man. So you tell me, this picture that I just showed you, there's not even anything bad in it, but it had Donald Trump in it. If you're willing to delete that one after the fact, what is it that you deleted with Donald in it before?
Oh, they not playing.
One of the e-files slipped through with an unredacted version, and I want to show it to you, omitting certain words so that this video can stay up. This is also about Bill Clinton, and if you see in that first part, it talks about my friend had you-know-what with Clinton and others. So he is just as guilty as anybody else in this and needs to be brought down. Now take a look at this third bullet point, though, because this one is the one that got through unredacted. It talks about another friend. One was of many girls that had relations with you-know-who. She confided to me about her casual friendship with him and definitely seemed to have a thing for her. And then it goes on, he liked her, read that in the quotes right there. He liked flicking and you know what. And until they were raw. And one evening they were together and she showed them to me and they looked incredibly painful and swollen. I know she had relations with you-know-who at the New York mansion. That is the tip of the iceberg. That is one of the unredacted ones. There was a redacted version and that unredacted that slipped through. It was not caught because there are thousands and thousands of mentions of this man in these files that even with the FBI working 24 hours a day for like a week, months ago, trying to scrub his name, it was absolutely impossible. How can you read that and not have a sick feeling in the pit of your stomach? How can you look at that man as president and think, yeah, I'm proud of that. I am not defending Clinton and I'm not defending him. I will not defend anybody who is listed in these files and is found to be doing these types of behaviors because that is absolutely unacceptable.
Completely agree with that, brother. Completely.
Chris Tucker, what the hell is you doing on Epstein Island with them white folks? Sitting next to Bill Clinton? Now that we know that you was on the island and we look at your career, you didn't really get nothing out of it. You got one big franchise, Rush Hour. Come on, man. If you gonna mingle with the elites, you supposed to get some from the elites. They've been releasing Epstein files all week. All kind of CEOs, all kind of political figures, Bill Clinton. I never thought I'd see, I felt like I was going to see some black people. But I'm like, Chris Tucker? Come on, man. Smokey? Come on, man. Now, one thing I will say is, it ain't no pictures of him with no women. You know, it ain't no pictures of him that look incriminating. So, I ain't gonna call my boy what they calling everybody else just yet. But, come on, bro. Why was you on this island with them? You know what they was doing on that island.
Lord Jesus.
Okay, more photos from the files. Here's a photo of Ghislaine, and next to her you can see her dog Max, who one of Ghislaine's ex-friends admitted to seeing Ghislaine physically harm multiple times. And according to Ghislaine's friend, Christina Oxenberg, who we've also done a deep dive on, Ghislaine would pick this puppy up and hurl it across the room over and over and would be hysterically laughing while she did it. Here's another photo of poor Max. And I'm not sure whose dog this is, but this is exactly why you don't leave Ghislaine Maxwell alone with animals. Look at this. These people are billionaires. And you can't take this dog to the vet and the groomer? Okay. Here's a photo that was hanging in Jeffrey's home. It is of a baby sleeping. Here's a photo hanging in his home of Jeffrey with a little girl on his shoulders, and she appears to be in a school uniform. Here is a photo of Jeffrey and Ghislaine, and on Jeffrey's sweatshirt, you can see his initials, and under it, it says Nadia's property, obviously talking about Nadia Marcinkova. Now, I don't know who either of these men are in these photos, but there are a ton of photos of like target practice and like shooting range photos. Like, I don't know if it seemed more like leisurely or training, but there were a lot of like photos with weapons in them. And I can't tell who this is, but whoever it is getting a massage by probably a victim. This next one is of Jeffrey in some kind of an official uniform. I don't know what this is. If anyone knows and is familiar, please let me know, because I'm not sure what this uniform is. Here is a photo of a little girl in a cheerleading uniform, and this one is especially disturbing to me. Do you guys remember when we did a deep dive into Leon Black, a longtime associate of Jeffrey, a longtime friend of Donald Trump, whose son, Ben Black, is working in our current administration? Yes, so if you haven't seen that, go back and watch it. But Leon Black, also a business partner of Jared Kushner, is currently going through litigation because he was sued for R-wording a 16-year-old girl in Jeffrey's home. Jeffrey and Ghislaine discovered this little girl due to her involvement in a community cheerleading program. Long story short, she would ultimately be groomed beginning at age 15, and at 16 she was taken to Jeffrey's home and R-worded by Leon Black to the point that she needed medical care. And just to make everything more egregious, this girl, who was 16 years old at the time that Leon Black R-worded her, is diagnosed with mosaic Down syndrome and autism. And in her lawsuit, she discusses how Jeffrey and Ghislaine liked her because she looked like a little doll. Now, I don't know if the cheerleader from the lawsuit is the same cheerleader in this photo, but it did come to mind. Now, I'm mostly covering this one up, but this photo made it very clear that Jeffrey has photographs or videos of things that were happening in the bedroom with his friends and his victims. Another thing that's happening in Jeffrey's properties a lot, which we kind of already knew, there are explicit photos of children all over the place, which we kind of already knew, but it's like really, really bad. Super out of control. But this just makes it clear that every person who was in Jeffrey's home and likes to say, I had no idea who Jeffrey was or what he was about, you're a liar. He literally had photos, explicit photos of children all over his properties. Okay, we have so much more to get into. I'll be back in a little bit and we'll get into more.
This is very disturbing stuff right here.
Okay, more photos released from the file. Sorry it took me so long to get on here today. I have been down many rabbit holes this morning. Okay, this man right here, his name is Doug Band, and he is the former deputy assistant to Bill Clinton whenever Bill Clinton was in the White House as president. Doug Band was also the key architect behind the many different Clinton foundations. So Doug Band not only worked for Bill Clinton when he was in the White House, he continued to work for Bill Clinton afterward. Here's a photo of Doug Band sleeping on Jeffrey's plane. In present day, Doug Doug Band is the founder and president of his own PR firm. So I guess we'll see how he PRs his way out of this one.
Wow.
Here's Ghislaine next to two members of the Russian military or the Russian army. I did a little bit of research, and these specific winter uniforms were worn mostly between the mid-1990s and the mid-2000s, just to give you an idea of when this photo could have been taken. We have Les Wexner next to what is supposed to be a victim. Looks like he had some NYPD police department jackets in his closet. Clearly that is the uniform that we were trying to figure out yesterday.
Wow.
Here is an older photo of Jeffrey surrounded by multiple topless girls. Here's Jeffrey's plane that the Trump administration used while on the campaign trail. And then this one. I saw this one and this reminded me of that picture that was drawn in the birthday book of like someone playing the piano.
Oh.
And then like this photo, like it just feels like something's connected there.
She on her shit, whoever she is.
So let's talk about the Epstein files and photos that were released yesterday on Friday, December 19th. Oh my gosh, are they crazy? I'm going to do a few videos in the next several days probably about the ones I found to be the most interesting or shocking or disgusting. So as you know, thousands upon thousands of new pictures were released yesterday in the Epstein files dump. But this one particular picture really makes you wonder. There were nearly 600,000 pages of documents that were released yesterday afternoon on Friday by the Department of Justice. Now let's talk about this picture. What two things are particularly concerning about it to you? Look really closely. Number one, look on the bottom left side, the bottom left corner. That appears to be the foot and leg of a very small child, possibly a toddler even. And number two, Jeffrey appears to be in bed or on a couch, and he appears to be half naked, if not fully naked, covered up with a sheet or a towel or something. It looks like there's a white towel around his waist, and there's like a navy blue sheet or something over him. And well, that's sick. But you see that tiny leg and foot completely visible in the bottom left-hand corner of this photo, and there are many theories that it was indeed a toddler because the leg and foot are so small, and that's what it appears to be to me. And you see Jeffrey is all smiles here in this picture, and it was allegedly taken at Jeffrey's place, his estate. As I said, he doesn't have a shirt on. It appears he's got a white towel wrapped around his waist, and he's either on a bed or a couch. It was said in the original photo there was another person in that picture, but it's hard to tell in this shot or picture. I don't really see anybody else unless I'm missing it. I've looked. Maybe this isn't the full picture, I don't know. Now, let's keep in mind, guys, that this picture could be totally innocent, okay? But it's also terrifying because of the sex trafficking that we now know Jeffrey was involved in. As you know, most of his victims were indeed minors, and he was known to abuse girls mostly between the ages of 14 and 17, which is unbelievably sick. And then there were court documents and testimony from victims where some said they were as young as 11 years old when the abuse from Jeffrey started. So yeah, there were several pictures that were released of him with kids that appear way younger, and those pictures have now caused people to be really concerned that the crimes go further and the victims might have been even younger than what was originally reported in the past. So as you know, that photo dump took place yesterday, and it was meant to comply with a law that was passed by Congress in November that mandated the disclosure of all the Epstein files. Reportedly, there were thousands of more pages in the files that were withheld from the public yesterday, but they claim they'll be released at a later date. We shall see. But yeah, I saw a ton of the photos that were released, and many were concerning and disturbing, but this one caught my attention the most. As I said, it could have been completely innocent, but knowing what we know now, it's absolutely terrifying to think that anybody would have had any child of any age around Jeffrey Epstein. Y'all let me know what you think about this in the comments, and for more updates and news into the files that were released and the pictures, be sure to follow and subscribe if you're on YouTube.
The Department of Justice said we redacting this, redacting.
Dear gosh, y'all, he had pictures of naked infants in bathtubs in his home. This is far worse than I ever imagined. I mean, I knew it was bad, but I never thought it would be this bad.
Whoa.
And never thought he would be into kids this young. So the latest dump of the Epstein file photos that, as you know, was released on Friday afternoon by the Department of Justice includes sickening pictures that appear to show Jeffrey kissing and holding little girls. Then one infant that was reportedly displayed on a wall in his home shows a naked infant taking a bath. Unreal. According to reports, these never before seen photos were framed and displayed at a wooden bookshelf at his huge estate on Little St. James Island, which is in the U.S. Virgin Islands. It was said the unidentified kids looked to be way younger than the teens who we all knew Jeffrey was into. Now listen to this. These new photos came out around the same time a whistleblower recently said that she warned the FBI back in 1996 that Jeffrey had a disgusting interest in child sexual assault material or child porn, drop the C out of P, but nothing was done. Absolutely unbelievable. Now, it's not 100% known who any of these young children are or if they were victims of Jeffrey's at any point. But in one of these pictures, he is seen in a freaking robe, as you can see here on the left, not even technically fully dressed. He's looking all content and happy with his eyes closed. And that's as he cradles what looks to be a very, very young blonde girl in his arms. Another picture shows Jeffrey with a huge smile on his face, as you can see on the top right. And that's while he's sitting on a plush seat in a private jet. In that picture, his arm is wrapped around a young girl who is wearing a blue sweatshirt. Then, as you can see in the bottom center picture, he is looking directly at the camera as he kissed a little red-headed girl who appears to have her hair in pigtails. There's yet another disgusting photo that shows a picture that was hanging on Jeffrey's walls with a naked baby taking a bath in a sink, and yes, you could see it all. In each of these pictures, the Department of Justice redacted the faces of the children with big black boxes, as you can see, and that was in order to protect the identities of potential victims. These pictures were among thousands of pictures that were heavily redacted in the Epstein files that were released Friday by the Department of Justice in order to comply with a Congress-mandated 30-day deadline. They're supposed to be releasing more, allegedly. We'll see. As I said, this release comes after it was said a former employee of Jeffrey's alerted the FBI many years ago that he was into child porn or child SA material, but the feds allegedly didn't do a damn thing, and that's unreal. The person who came forward about this is reportedly Maria Farmer, who Jeffrey hired to help him purchase art. She reportedly filed a complaint against him on September 3rd of 1996, but he escaped any legal repercussions for a whole nother decade. This was all reportedly during Bill Clinton's second term in office. Maria has publicly said for many years that she tried to inform authorities, tried her best to, about Jeffrey and his madam's predatory behavior, and his madam was Ghislaine Maxwell, but the FBI would never confirm that Maria had filed this complaint or complaints until this latest dump of files was released. This is absolutely sick and unnerving. To think he was allegedly into child sexual assault material and around these super young children is especially terrifying and concerning, and there's truly no telling how many victims he's truly got, but they either haven't come forward or they were too young to remember the abuse. Y'all let me know your thoughts in the comments. For more videos on the Epstein files, make sure to follow and subscribe if you're on YouTube. A mural of an aroused young boy. Yep, that's what Jeffrey Epstein had on a bedroom wall. This is absolutely sick. So according to reports that recently came out in the Epstein files photo dump release that happened on Friday.
Yo, this is too much, bro. This is extremely disturbing. This is crazy. This is art he had in the crib. What?
Afternoon, he had a giant oil painting that depicted a very young boy with an erect in a sick coming of age ceremony. This was reportedly inside Jeffrey's townhouse in Manhattan. Reportedly, the sick mural was proudly displayed in one of the bedrooms, in one of the many bedrooms of his Upper East Side mansion. The mural, as you can see here, shows a little boy prancing around in a room. He was aroused with an erect, you know what, as figures that look like demons or something. Look at him in the background. Maybe those demons were supposed to portray Jeffrey Epstein himself. Pictures show that this sick mural took up almost an entire wall of a bright pink bedroom that didn't have a whole lot in it other than a queen bed and 2 night tables, along with a closet that had folded towels and bathrobes in it. The picture of the mural was reportedly taken by the FBI on July 6th of 2019, which was reportedly the day that Jeffrey was arrested at an airport in New Jersey on charges of trafficking minor females for sex. This was after the FBI and the NYPD executed a search warrant warrant on his home after he was taken into custody. It was said over 1,800 pictures were taken inside the 9-story residence, and that was over a period of 2 days. According to reports, this disturbing mural of the little boy was painted by George Alvarez, and he is reportedly a Cuban-American artist who is based out of Miami, Florida. He reportedly painted the mural, which is 83 inch by 126 inch, in 1995, and as I said, it is titled Coming of Age Ceremony. The painting is currently in possession of Collective Hudson Auction House in Kingston, which is, I believe, in New York. The company reportedly had an auction back in September of this year, but it was said no one bought this painting, of course. I wonder why. It is estimated that it could be valued up to $10,000, which is unbelievable. It was said, though, that dozens of other paintings of his were sold that day, but nobody wanted this sick one. Thank goodness. It was said there were other paintings and pictures in Jeffrey's home that confirmed he was obsessed with sex and women's bodies, as there were reportedly countless rooms that had paintings or pictures of nude women in suggestive, kind of concerning poses for some of them. But I mean, I would rather he have of-age women in these pictures and paintings than little boys who are nude with erect you-know-whats. This is absolutely unbelievable. And as I said earlier in another video, I knew the files would be bad, but I didn't know how bad they'd be. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. For more videos regarding the Epstein files, make sure to follow and subscribe if you're over on YouTube.